Title: The Missing Key. The sky over Tenerife shimmered with a deep orange hue as the last rays of sun vanished behind the volcanic hills. Tourists spilled out onto the cobblestone streets, their laughter blending with the clinking of pint glasses and the distant thump of nightclub basslines. Among them was Jay Slater, a 19-year-old lad from Manchester on holiday with two of his closest mates, Tyler and Reese. It was their last full night on the island, and the trio had planned to go big, drink, dance, and soak in the last of their freedom before returning home. But for Jay, the night would become something else entirely, a twisting trail of confusion, abandonment, and a key that went missing just before everything spiraled out of control. The key. Jay had always been a bit careless, a bit impulsive, the kind of guy who might lose a hoodie at a house party or forget his charger at the airport gate. But on this particular night, he was clutching onto something unusually precious. The key to their shared Airbnb apartment tucked away in a quiet residential complex near Los Cristianos. Tyler and Reese were already tipsy when they stumbled into a beachfront club just past 10 p.m. Jay was slower to get into the mood, sipping on rum and cokes and glancing at his phone. He had met a couple of older lads at the club earlier that week, Benji and Marco, both a few years his senior and, as Jay described them, proper sound. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It was around midnight when things started to fragment. Tyler swore he saw Jay talking to Benji at the bar, gesturing animatedly, holding up something small, maybe the Airbnb key. Reese remembered Jay saying something about going back for a bit, but assumed he meant the flat. When the club lights came on and the lads regrouped outside at 4 a.m., Jay was gone. The phone call. At 7:38 a.m., Tyler's phone rang. "Bro, I'm lost. I've no clue where I am." It was Jay. His voice trembled with exhaustion and panic. In the background, birds chirped and wind howled over the phone's mic. He said he'd ended up with Benji and Marco in the hills outside Santiago del Teide, almost 30 miles from their Airbnb. He'd slept for a bit, then decided to head back on foot. But now he couldn't find the road. "I've got no key. I think I dropped it," Jay muttered. Tyler tried to keep him calm, told him to stay put. He asked if he had the Airbnb address. Jay didn't. The signal broke up. Then silence. That was the last time anyone heard from Jay Slater. The search begins. Authorities launched a search within hours. Local volunteers combed the hills and ravines around the area where Jay's phone last pinged. Drones buzzed overhead. Sniffer dogs traced scents that stopped cold near a dirt path leading into pine forests. The media latched onto the story with grim enthusiasm. A British teenager vanishes on a foreign island. Clues were sparse, but one detail refused to let go of public imagination: the missing key. Jay's mother, Liz Slater, flew out the following day. In a tearful interview, she confirmed Jay had been in possession of the Airbnb key before going out that night. Jay's not the type to run off. "If he said he lost the key, he lost it," she said, gripping a photo of her son taken earlier that week on the beach. But how, exactly, did he lose it? The men in the hills. Marco and Benji, the two men Jay reportedly left the club with, were questioned by police, but not detained. They claimed Jay had been offered a place to crash when he complained about feeling too drunk to get back. They said he left early that morning, insisting he'd find his own way. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. One detail raised eyebrows. Benji mentioned that when they first arrived at the remote villa in the hills, Jay had patted down his pockets and said, "SH*T, I dropped the key." "Dropped it where?" the police asked. Benji shrugged. "Could have been in the taxi. Or at the bar." He didn't seem too fussed. Said he'd figure it out. But the story didn't sit well with many, especially not Jay's family. Inconsistencies. Over the following days, gaps began to emerge in the narrative. Taxi records showed a ride had been taken to the remote villa, but it was paid for in cash, untraceable. CCTV footage near the club showed Jay leaving alone at around 2:30 a.m., not with anyone. A key fob matching the description of the Airbnb set was found in a storm drain near a convenience store a block from the club, but it wasn't the one Jay had. It belonged to a different tourist. So where was Jay's key? Detectives believed the answer might reveal whether Jay had been truly lost or something more sinister had occurred. Theories swirl. By day 4, the internet sleuths came out in force. Reddit threads dissected every frame of blurry CCTV, every GPS coordinate, and every spoken word in the police briefings. One theory posited that the key had been stolen. Another suggested Jay never had the key that night, that maybe it had been passed to someone else before the club, perhaps sold or swapped. A darker theory circulated that Benji and Marco weren't who they claimed to be. But another theory chilled Liz Slater to the bone. What if the key wasn't lost, but left behind deliberately? The Airbnb clue. The host of the Airbnb came forward with an interesting detail. When he entered the apartment after Jay's disappearance, with police present, he found signs someone had returned during the night. A half-empty bottle of water was on the kitchen counter. A wet towel hung from the bathroom door. A key fob, Jay's key fob, was sitting on the floor under the coffee table. It was Jay's. No doubt about it. So how could he have lost it in the hills if it had made its way back to the flat? The timeline no longer made sense. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Had Jay returned to the apartment briefly, only to leave again for reasons unknown? Had someone else brought the key back? Unanswered questions. Forensic analysis turned up partial prints on the key fob, Jay's, of course, but also one unknown set. The prints weren't in any database. Marco and Benji denied ever seeing the key or being inside the flat. The case began to lose steam after 2 weeks. No sign of Jay. No definitive clues. Just a patchwork of inconsistencies. And always the same haunting question: what happened after he lost the key? A revelation. 3 months later, during routine maintenance on a storm-damaged hiking trail north of Santiago del Teide, a local ranger found a torn piece of fabric caught on a branch. Nearby, buried under rock and moss, lay a cracked phone, its SIM card removed. It was Jay's. The forensic team extracted fragments of data. One was a voice memo, timestamped at 6:12 a.m. on the day he vanished. Okay, if anything happens, it's 'cause of them. They said they'd take me back, but they lied. I'm gonna try to walk. If I lose the key, whatever, I ain't staying with them. That was it. He hadn't lost the key, not really. He'd made a choice. And someone, maybe one of them, had returned it to cover tracks. Conclusion. Jay Slater's disappearance remains an open case. Though no foul play has ever been officially declared and no suspects named, the circumstances remain clouded in ambiguity. The recovered key, far from a mundane lost item, became the centerpiece of a mystery that continues to torment those left behind. The key was returned, but Jay never was. And in that silence lies the true weight of the mystery, the kind that no lock can open and no answer can quite satisfy. Subscribe the channel to get such videos.